Sheila Carter had always walked a razor's edge between redemption and destruction. For a while, she believed she was finally on the path of healing, married to Deacon Sharp, building a life free of bloodshed and betrayals. But peace never lasted long in her world, especially when it came to the people she loved. And when she discovered that Deacon had been in regular therapy sessions with Taylor Hayes, his ex's mother, a woman he once cared about, something deep inside Sheila snapped loose. Sheila confronted Deacon one evening after closing time at Il Giardino. The lights were dim and the restaurant was empty except for the two of them. Her voice trembled with fury and hurt as she demanded to know what was really happening behind closed doors. "You told me you were seeing Taylor for therapy. You said you needed help sorting through your past," she hissed, eyes narrowing. "You didn't say you were falling back into her arms." Deacon raised his hands, trying to calm her, but she was already pacing, already spiraling. "It's not like that. Taylor's been helping me process everything. Hope, the choices I made, the pain I've caused. That's all it's ever been. You expect me to believe that?" She spat. "You think I can't see what's going on? The late nights, the texts, the way you light up when her name comes up. I know what this is, Deacon. I know that look. You're drifting. And you're drifting toward her." The jealousy in her voice wasn't just emotional, it was primal. Deacon had been her tether to sanity. If he slipped away, she feared she would go with him. Sheila's outburst marked the beginning of the unraveling. The marriage between Deacon and Sheila, once based on mutual understanding and a twisted kind of love, began to fracture. He tried to explain, tried to hold space for both the therapy he needed and the woman he promised to love. But Sheila's possessiveness drowned out everything else. She began showing up outside Taylor's office, waiting, watching, listening at doors. Her paranoia grew, fueled by insecurity and instinct. She started accusing Deacon of emotional infidelity. And when Deacon admitted that he had shared things with Taylor, deep, painful truths he hadn't been able to share with Sheila, it only confirmed what she feared most. Then came the breaking point. It happened during a late afternoon session at Taylor's office. Deacon had come in more raw than usual, shaken by another violent outburst from Sheila the night before. Taylor had placed a comforting hand on his shoulder, offering empathy. He looked up at her, tired and vulnerable, and in a moment of overwhelming gratitude and pain, he kissed her. It wasn't long, it wasn't planned, but it wasn't meaningless either. And it wasn't private. Sheila had followed him. She stood outside the door, listening, breathing hard. And when she saw the kiss through the frosted glass, something shattered. She didn't knock. She didn't scream. She charged. The door slammed open with such force it cracked the plaster. Sheila lunged at Taylor without a word. Her fingernails slashed, fists flying. Deacon jumped between them, but it was too late. Sheila's rage was a storm. "You stealing bitch," she screamed, dragging Taylor down by the hair. "You've been trying to take him from me since day one." Taylor fought back instinctively, but she was no match for Sheila's raw, explosive violence. Sheila punched, clawed, slammed. The room erupted in chaos. Deacon tried to pull Sheila off, shouting at her to stop, but the fury in her eyes was blinding. She wasn't just lashing out, she was breaking. And when Deacon finally managed to tear her away, he did so with one hand holding her back and the other helping Taylor off the floor. "I'm done," he growled, breathless and shaking. "This marriage is over. Do you hear me? You're out of my life, for good." Sheila froze, lips trembling, eyes glassy. "You don't mean that." "I do," he shouted. "You don't get to destroy everything just because you feel threatened. I should have seen this coming. I should have ended it months ago." But Sheila didn't cry. She didn't plead. Instead, her hand shot out one last time. She grabbed Taylor by the shoulders and slammed her head against the corner of the desk. Taylor crumpled instantly. Blood pooled beneath her temple as her body collapsed, unconscious. Deacon screamed. Everything else, rage, betrayal, fear, evaporated. He grabbed his phone, dialing 911 with shaking fingers. "Sheila Carter attacked someone. Head trauma. She's unconscious. There's blood. Please, send help. Hurry." The paramedics arrived within minutes. Deacon stayed at Taylor's side, his hands soaked in blood, whispering to her, begging her to stay with him. Sheila stood in the corner, frozen, dazed. For a moment, she didn't look like a monster. She looked like someone who had just realized what she had become. But it was too late. At the hospital, Taylor underwent emergency surgery. The doctors managed to stabilize her, and for a time, it seemed she would recover. But when she finally opened her eyes, she looked around the room in confusion. She didn't know where she was. She didn't know who she was. The trauma had wiped her memory clean. Deacon sat beside her, devastated. She looked at him like a stranger. And even though he was told this could be temporary, the damage was done. He couldn't protect her. He couldn't stop Sheila. He couldn't undo what happened. But he could do the one thing that still mattered. He gave a full statement to the police. He told them everything. About the assault, about the jealousy, about the unprovoked attack that left Taylor with a life-altering brain injury. Sheila was arrested at her hotel the next day. She didn't resist. She didn't cry. She didn't say a word. She only looked at Deacon, eyes hollow. "You said you loved me," she whispered as the cuffs clicked. "I did," Deacon replied. "But I love who I'm becoming more." Deacon moved into Taylor's recovery wing. He stayed by her side, day after day, hoping her memories would return. He read her old notes, told her stories of her past, reminded her of who she was. A brilliant doctor, a mother, a survivor. And slowly, something began to shift. She didn't remember him, but she began to trust him. The trauma had stolen her past, but Deacon was determined not to let it destroy her future. The man who once stood in the shadows of Los Angeles now stood at Taylor's side. Not because of guilt, not out of obligation, but because he had chosen to do the right thing. At last, and in doing so, Deacon Sharp reclaimed something he had long believed he'd lost forever. His honor. Steffy Forrester's sudden return to Los Angeles was nothing short of a shockwave. Without warning, she stepped through the front door of the Cliff House, holding Hayes in one arm and Kelly close beside her. The ocean breeze behind her barely masked the storm brewing in her eyes. It had been weeks since she'd left. Weeks of silence, reflection, and pain. But something had pulled her back. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was unfinished business. Either way, she was home. And standing before her, frozen in disbelief, was her husband, John Finnegan. His eyes locked onto hers, then fell to their children. For a heartbeat, time folded in on itself. Steffy and Finn embraced, and for a moment, nothing else mattered. Tears flowed freely, not just from Finn, but from Steffy too. The reunion was raw, powerful. Kelly's arms wrapped around Finn's leg. Hayes reached for his father's shoulder. The family, fractured and strained, felt whole again. But as Finn held Steffy, as he buried his face in her hair and whispered apologies, she felt the tension beneath his breath. He was hiding something. She'd known him long enough to hear it. His pauses, his hesitations, the way his hands trembled against her back. Something was wrong, very wrong. And then he said it. Luna is alive." The words cracked the air like lightning. Steffy pulled back slowly, her smile gone, eyes narrowing as she searched Finn's face for a punchline. For context, for anything that would make this less insane. But he wasn't joking, not even close. "She didn't die in the accident. There was a cover-up. A lot happened after you left. And Steffy, she's pregnant." The room spun. Silence choked them both. Steffy's hands clenched into fists as her brain scrambled to process the betrayal. The madness. The insult. She had left to protect her family from instability, from chaos. She had trusted Finn to hold the line. And now Luna Nozawa, the woman whose presence had always been a quiet disruption, a slow-burning fuse, was not only alive but pregnant with Finn's child? The warmth in Steffy's expression froze over. The soft return melted into steel in a flash. Her shoulders straightened, her jaw locked. The shift was immediate, terrifying, and unmistakable. Steffy Forrester had gone from wife to warrior. "Where is she?" Steffy's voice was flat, sharp, lethal. Finn hesitated, which only made it worse. "Where is she, Finn?" "At the guest house." She's not part of this family," Steffy cut in coldly. "She never will be." The protector in her had fully awakened. Luna wasn't just a mistake. She was now a threat. One that had somehow wormed her way back into their lives carrying a Forrester-Finnegan bloodline. That changed everything. Steffy wouldn't let her children be caught in that crossfire. She wouldn't let her home become a battlefield. She had returned to reclaim her life. And now she was going to defend it with every ounce of strength in her body. It didn't take long for Luna to realize the storm had arrived. She heard the front door slam open before she could even stand. Steffy didn't knock. She marched in like she owned the ground beneath her feet, and she did. The air shifted when Steffy entered the guest house. Her eyes locked onto Luna's from across the room. "You should have left when you had the chance," Steffy said. Luna stood, visibly pregnant, her hands instinctively going to her stomach. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to survive. And I didn't ask for your husband to care about me." Steffy stepped forward, ignoring the jab. "Don't confuse his guilt for love. You were a mistake he will regret for the rest of his life. But let me be perfectly clear, your presence here? It ends now." Luna's chin lifted. "I'm carrying his child. That matters. Not to me," Steffy snapped. "Not to this family. You don't get to play victim when you inserted yourself into a marriage you knew was already cracking. You knew exactly what you were doing. You saw the fractures and decided to drive a wedge straight through them. It wasn't like that. But it was, Steffy barked. You want sympathy? Get it from someone else. I'm not here to coddle you. And I'm not here to play house while you dangle your pregnancy like some kind of insurance policy. You think this child gives you power? It doesn't. It gives you responsibility. And responsibility means leaving. Finn tried to step in. He followed Steffy in, his voice shaky. Steffy, we need to talk, we're way past talking, she cut him off without even looking at him. Her focus stayed locked on Luna. You had your window of sympathy. It closed the minute you decided to stay. Luna's voice rose, defensive now. This isn't fair. The accident, the secrecy, I was used, discarded. I didn't ask to fall in love with Finn. But I did. And he didn't push me away. Steffy turned slowly to face Finn. And for a second, he saw a flicker of the woman he married. The one who could destroy him with just a look. You didn't push her away. Finn looked down. I was grieving. You were gone. I made a mistake. You invited a mistake into our bed, she said quietly. The venom in her voice quiet but surgical. And now that mistake is 9 months away from trying to claw a place into my family. Over my dead body. The declaration hung heavy in the air. Finn tried again. Steffy, there's a child involved. There are 2 children involved, she corrected. Kelly and Hayes. And they come first. Always. I left to protect them from this chaos, and now I come back to find it living under our roof? No, I won't raise my children in a house where betrayal is the new normal. Luna's voice cracked. What do you want me to do? Vanish? Yes, Steffy answered, dead serious. That's exactly what I want. Leave. Disappear. Start fresh somewhere else. But not here. Not in this city. Not near my family. Luna's hands trembled as she stepped back, but she didn't leave, not yet. I'm not going to let you bully me. Steffy smiled coldly. That's where you're mistaken. I don't bully. I eliminate threats. And right now, that's you. For the next several days, the war lines were drawn. Steffy took control of the household. She re-established dominance, took meetings at Forrester, reinserted herself into every aspect of Finn's life and made it crystal clear that Luna was not to be seen, heard, or acknowledged. Finn, guilt-ridden and torn, tried to find a middle ground. But Steffy didn't deal in compromise when it came to her family. She laid down boundaries like landmines. If Luna so much as looked at Hayes, Steffy was there. If she showed up at a Forrester event, Steffy had security turn her away. This wasn't about jealousy. It was about power, and Steffy was making sure Luna had none. Meanwhile, Luna's pregnancy advanced. Alone, isolated, and emotionally fractured, she considered her options. She wasn't just battling Steffy. She was also fighting shame, fear, and the reality of raising a child without support. She visited Lee Finnegan, who had her own bitter words. You let yourself believe you belonged. But you don't. Not in this family. Not in Finn's life. My son made a mistake. And we all pay for it now. Luna's isolation became complete. No allies. No backup. Just her and the child she was carrying. The child that had been conceived in confusion. Born into conflict. And already at the center of a war. But Steffy wasn't done. She wanted closure. Finality. So she met with Luna one last time, this time not in anger but with clinical precision. She offered money, a deal, a clean break. You leave LA, I'll make sure you have everything you need. You'll never work another day in your life. But you disappear. You give this child a life free from scandal. And you let my family heal. Luna stared at the offer. The suitcase of cash, the contract, the clean slate, and for a moment she almost took it. But then she looked down at her stomach. And everything changed. No, she said, I won't run. And I won't sell my child's future for hush money. Steffy stood up, collected the suitcase, and turned her back to Luna. Then you've made your choice. And just like that, the war was back on. Only now, it wasn't just a feud. It was a full-scale campaign. Steffy began preparing for a legal fight, digging into Luna's past, aligning Forrester PR to brace for impact. She would do whatever it took to protect her children, her marriage, and her name. Because for Steffy Forrester, family isn't a slogan. It's blood, it's loyalty, it's war, and she never loses a war.